So once again, a very good morning to all present here. I welcome you to my seminar on Introduction to SWOT Analysis. Of course, SWOT analysis is a large topic. So today, I'll try to tell you what is SWOT analysis. So that's the reason why it's titled as Introduction to SWOT Analysis. Of course, as introduced by Dr. Bhaskaran, I am Dr. K.S. Badrinathan, Professor of Mechanical and Dean Education Development at SVC. So this is going to be my flow on the contents. What is SWOT, why SWOT, how to do it, and how to do it properly, and if you do it properly, what are the benefits one will get out of SWOT. Right. So time being, forget about whatever blah blah things I am going to tell about SWOT analysis, right? And so one more thing I want to tell you in the beginning, this SWOT analysis, though it's much talked about in medium scale or large scale industries or typically corporates, not many of us know that this SWOT analysis can be done for each and every individual. Probably we'll be giving some other names, but technically using the term SWOT analysis, it's not only to corporates but applies to individuals also. So forget about all those technical terms, right? Now I'll show you certain statements or dialogues which we say in day-to-day life. Say when something has to be done, you stand up and say, hey, I am good at doing it, I can do it very well, right? And sometimes in some other task you say, no, I can't do it, it's impossible, it's very difficult for me to do it. And it's a good chance for me that I should make use of it. If I miss this chance, I doubt whether I'll be able to get another good chance like this. But for him, it's okay for me, right? Means there is a competitor for me. Maybe if the competitor is weakened or competitor is not there, then yes, it's a strength for me. So these are certain day-to-day dialogues which we use, right? Now what we'll do is, we'll relate these dialogues to what we are going to discuss today, that is SWOT. So whatever you said, I can do it, I will do it, I'll be able to do it. You are saying it with confidence because that is the strength, right? And knowing your strength, that gives you some confidence. The yes stands for your strength. And the next time you say, no, it's not possible. Say someone is good doing things, thinking, using his mind and then doing it. Someone is good in doing physical work. Physical in the sense what? Running around and doing things. So probably in the second case is that I can't do it. Probably it's a Herculean task. It's a laborious task, which involves a lot of physical effort. Probably you say, no, I'm not so strong to do that. So that W stands for your weakness. And the third category is opportunities. Right. So when I get an opportunity, I should make use of it. Say when Bhaskaran sir asked me, sir, can you make a presentation? So that's a good opportunity for me to showcase my talent, right, on this topic. Suppose I hesitate, will I be able to do it? No sir, then I lose an opportunity, right? So O stands for opportunity and T stands for threats. Say sometimes you are king, you are strong in your domain, and suddenly a competitor crops up, right? So then that becomes a threat to you. Then you all these days you are very strong about your strengths, and suddenly when a competitor comes, you look at him as a threat, then your confidence level goes down, right? So T stands for threats, and this is the expansion for the acronym SWOT. Right. Should I use SWOT analysis? Or in other words, why should I use SWOT analysis? So let's see. So developing a full awareness of your situation. So again, when I say this could be you, your institution, your organization, whatever it is, can help with both strategic planning and decision making. As Professor Bhaskaran said in the beginning, someone who is in third year and especially those final year students who are even tomorrow you are going to get a job as an engineer. So these two are very, very important in an individual's life and in any role, especially in managerial role, decision making, right? So to do these two things, strategic planning and decision making, yes, you need to be aware of your situation, right? So the strategic planning helps an individual or an organization or an institution to answer some basic and critical questions. See, the questions are basic, but they are critical, means they are very important. So let's see what are those basic questions. Where we stand, right? Where do I stand? Or where do the organization stand? And what is our goal, right? And how to reach the desired goal. So now coming back here, you as a student, now probably, of course, I am not undermining or underestimating anyone. Sometimes, being in teenage, you try to deviate from your goal, right? Then probably your faculty advisor will call and say some XY name, say Ramesh, what is the purpose, with what aim you joined engineering, right? And see where you stand now. Earlier you used to study well, you were scoring good marks in your CAT, your internals was good, you got a high CGPA, but now look at where do you stand. Your performance has gone down, right? Your internals are very low, and with this, do you think will you be able to achieve your goal? You need to focus on your task, you need to focus on your goal so that you can achieve it. So that's a common advice which not all, not everybody, at least few, the advice you get from a faculty advisor. So with the faculty advisor has analyzed you, you are capable, and your previous record shows that maybe till fourth semester, let's assume, your performance was good in terms of your CGPA and other things. So he has analyzed you and feels for your capability what you are performing now is not up to the mark. Means you have to correct yourself so that you reach your goal. So this is a common, this is what I said, we have been doing it, right? But probably we don't put the label SWOT analysis. We do a analysis. So this is the core of a SWOT analysis, to realize where we are, where we have to go, are we marching towards that? If not, what should I do, right? So obviously now you should have understood that yes, it is very essential for an individual also. Now coming back here to the technicality of SWOT analysis. So I told S stands for strength. So of course here I have used the word company, you replace it with institution or an individual. The things the company can do well, right? That is the strength of the company, right? Say for example, when we talk about Nokia, they say signal strength, right? Nokia is very strong. That's the strength of Nokia. What the company does well. Things the company does not do well. What is the weakness of that? Probably the company didn't do proper strategic planning, right? They didn't adapt to the changing technology. So that's a weakness. So now S and W, strength and weakness, are internal within the company, within the institution, right? Within the individual, where I have control over that. I can change that. So this is called internal factors, S and W, strength and weakness. Then comes opportunity, conditions in the external environment that favor strength, right? So there is an opportunity. Do I grab that? Say for example, Nokia, they were number one globally, but somewhere they were very complacent. They thought, okay, anyway, I'm number one, let me continue my job, continue my business. But somewhere technology was changing, where Nokia failed to adapt to the new technology, that smartphones, touch screens. So whereas Samsung, maybe next to Nokia, of course now we have a lot of Chinese brands, but earlier to that, next to Nokia, we talked about Samsung. Of course iPhone is also there, I'm keeping it in a different category. So Samsung saw that there is an opportunity, made use of the opportunity, and then they grew well, they raised their market share, right? So opportunities are conditions which are prevailing outside of your organization, which you need to capture, right? Say I'll tell you another example, footwear manufacturing company. Now they sent a representative, of course it was part of the interview, right? So two interviewing candidates, they came for a post of marketing guys. So they were sent to a remote place in South Africa to go and find out what will be the scope if they start a factory there. So one guy went, the very next day he came back, said, sir, people are not wearing footwear waste. If we start a company there, a factory there, they are already not wearing this thing, so it's waste. So let's not do that, we'll drop the idea. The other fellow came a few days later because he has done a thorough analysis. He came and said, sir, 90% of the people are not wearing footwear. If you start a factory there and make them wear footwear, we have huge opportunity, right? Of course, there are two things which I am conveying: how you look, the perspective of how you look things, and when you look at an opportunity, grabbing it. Next is threats. Of course, conditions in the external environment that do not relate to existing strengths or favor areas of current weakness. Of course, coming back to Nokia didn't realize a threat is coming up. Apple, Samsung and so many other companies who ventured into smartphone technology, right? So that was a threat, but probably Nokia didn't realize a threat is coming up. They realized very late, by then they were thrown out of the market. Of course, now they are struggling how to come into. Right, so the important thing which we need to know here is strength and weakness are internal within you, institution or organization, and opportunities or threats are outside of you, where you have to keenly watch and grab the opportunity and face the threats. So to put it in a matrix, so these are all internal factors. Strengths, what are my major internal strengths? You can see that I am using the word internal here. What are my major internal weaknesses? And external factors, what are the major external opportunities in my field, and what are the major external threats in my field, right? So this is called a SWOT matrix, where you put in those things and then do an analysis. Of course, this is one related to an industry. So you can see there, I was telling you internal and external. See, the external forces are so many: technological, regulatory, economical conditions, social conditions, demographic, where we are located, political scenario, the legal aspects. These are all the external forces which will try to influence your day-to-day activities. And unfortunately, we don't have control over that. They are all uncontrollable because they are external to your organization. Whereas coming to internal, as I told you, these are all controllable because which is under our control. Now, if you take a company as such, what is the business strategy the company develops and uses it? How does it manage its finance? How does it do the marketing? How does it do its R&D, right? How is its production facilities? How is HR management working? So these are all internal environment or internal factors which are very much under your control. So I think now you must be able to understand what is external and what is internal, right? So why should I do a SWOT? Of course, initially I told you about the basic questions. Go a little bit more into that. So when I do a SWOT analysis, and if I know my strength, then I will know how to leverage in the sense, how do I make use of my strength, right, and benefit out of it. And next is weakness. Yes, I know there is a weakness. How do I overcome? Now that's a very important thing. I'll come back here. So when you go to an interview, especially for the final years, this is very important. One of these standard questions the HR will ask you is, what is your strength and what is your weakness? Then immediately you'll become very cautious. Okay, he's asking about my weakness, let me not reveal it. Then you start listing out, I am strong in that, I am strong in this, I know that. Then you keep quiet. Then again they ask you a question, well, fine gentlemen, you told about your strength. You didn't tell anything about your weaknesses. Then you say, no sir, I don't have any weakness, hoping that they'll appreciate you. But no, when you say that, your marks go down. Probably when you said the strength, your marks would have gone up. When you say, no, I don't have any weakness, it will go down. Why? Because everyone knows, everyone has got some weakness or other. But then why do they specifically ask you to explain your weaknesses? So what they want is, have you identified your weakness and have you taken steps to overcome them? Say for example, again I'm not underestimating anyone here, but one of the problems what students face generally is communication skills, right? Maybe I can manage, but I'm not good, right? I'm not saying I'm poor, I can manage, but I'm not good. Then you must say, sir, my communication is not very good. Fine. Then the next question is, have you taken steps for that? Then you must be able to say, yes sir, I realize that my communication skills are poor. So I took up a spoken English class in so and so institute and I'm practicing it. I'm attending it regularly. I read a lot of books and then I see a lot of English movies or serials, whatever it is, to know or to learn how to communicate. So this is what is important. Why should we identify your weakness? Once you identify, then you will take steps to overcome them. And when there are opportunities, I must know there are opportunities available outside. Then yes, then I must plan. How do I exploit that? But if you don't look around for opportunities, don't think that opportunities will come in search of you and knock the door. Hey, I am opportunity, make use of me. No. You have to, be very vigilant, constantly look around, find out opportunities related to your strength. Then yes, grab it, exploit it, make use of it. Then threats. Just keep quiet, what Nokia did, okay, I am number one, people are happy with my product, without realizing the threat. If you don't realize, how will you defend, right? And especially when you realize that a threat is coming up, when you realize that at an early stage, it is easy for you to defend, overcome it, right? It's like a cancer. If you diagnose it very early, it's easy to cure and you can survive. If you realize it very late, then it's late. So that's the reason why we need to do SWOT analysis. Fine, sir, you are telling so many things. What if I don't do a SWOT analysis? Is it a big problem for me? Can I not survive at all? Let's look at it. So you have strength and your hidden strength are not utilized, right? Probably this is another dialogue in Tamil what people say. Yanaki adanode balam theriyadu, right? So elephant will not realize its own strength. That's again a common dialogue which they say in day-to-day life. So your hidden strengths are not utilized because you don't know what your strength is. You never thought about it. Then weakness is not identified and not taken care of. If it is not taken care of, it will only further weaken you. You in the sense individual, institution, organization, whatever it is. Opportunities are missed, then you sit and regret. I missed that. Opportunity gone is gone, right? So you missed an opportunity. And because you didn't realize, you didn't do a SWOT analysis, you are unprepared to face threats. You realize only when the threat has become big. By then it's too late, right? These are the drawbacks if you don't do a SWOT analysis. Fine. So I know I should do it. I also realize that if I don't, it's drawback for me. I have done a SWOT analysis. After that, what do I do, right? So link. What to link? Link your strength to action plan, right? I know it's my strength, but if you don't make use of it, an opportunity comes, I know there is a strength in me which can match that opportunity, and I say okay, fine, right? So you need to take an action plan to create sustainable competitive advantage of your strength. And the next is, of course, I know your weakness. Yes, I am weak, my communication skills are poor. What do I do? So okay, so do I take that stand, or I propose a specific action plan to overcome my weaknesses? As I told you, if it is communication skill, take up an online class or offline class, whatever it is, you have to take steps. Then develop what? Develop action plan to take advantage of the opportunities. That's what I said. There it's linking. There is an opportunity, you have a strength, link them and develop an action plan to make use of them. And plan. Of course, as I told you, you have to keep your vigil, keep looking around, see whether any threats are coming up, then I take an action plan to defend those threats. Right? Yes, it has to be done, all those things. But how do I do a SWOT analysis? So there should be a method or procedure or steps which I have to follow so that I do a SWOT properly. Doing is different, doing properly is totally different. Right? So if you want to do something, you have to do it perfectly. Of course, you know, as NCC cadets, right, even a small mistake, as a cadet, what you do, maybe you're a cadet, imagine the soldiers in the field, a small mistake can lead to a disaster. So you must do it properly. So how do we do a SWOT? So we, of course, if it's individual, then this doesn't come into picture, coordinator doesn't come into picture. But looking at an institution or organization, you need to select a coordinator who will lead this task of doing the SWOT analysis. And this coordinator will pick appropriate people and create a team. Of course, when you say team, if it is an institution, there are different departments. If it is an organization or a company, there's a sales department, there is a production department, right? There's a HR department, there is a marketing department. So he picks people from all the departments or divisions and put them into a team. Then yes, you sit. Two things are possible. One, you do a brainstorm, sit in a meeting, do a brainstorming, record that meeting, and then pick points from that. Or use other technology like create a Google Sheet or a Google Doc, a simple way of doing it. Ask all of them to post their views, right? And that document becomes a brainstorming. And as a coordinator, you pick all the salient points from different people, what they have posted, right? And then, so this is what I said, record all the suggestions given by all the members of the team. Then as a coordinator, you consolidate all the ideas, and if there are certain ambiguities, clarify the ideas and prioritize. When I say prioritize, means what? Which is most important, more important, in that order. You prioritize them and finally summarize the whole thing into a SWOT document. So this is the steps which you have to follow to do a SWOT analysis. So, and you know, as Bhaskaran sir was telling, we did this, right? When SVC wanted to do a SWOT analysis, each of the department, they called their teachers, a meeting was conducted, explained what a SWOT analysis is, why we need to do it, and a Google Doc was created. Of course, you know what Google Doc is. It's a shared document. Anyone can access it and post their comments on that. So all of us posted comments on that, and HOD, he collected all those things, consolidated, and there will be a lot of repetitions, removed all those things. There will be some trivial things, removed that, and finally consolidated and summarized into a final SWOT document. This is typically what we did, and this is actually one has to do it. So to do this, I said create a Google Doc. Now ask participants to answer these simple questions. What are the strengths and weaknesses of, so here you say it could be for a group or a community or a company, whatever it is. So you create a table like this. So as I told you, strengths and weaknesses are internal to an organization, and opportunities and threats are external. So ask them to list what they feel that the strengths of their department or their division. Of course, in college it's department, in industry it's a division. So this is one way of doing it. Sometimes what happens, you know, people may feel they may find difficult to categorize them. What is strength? What is opportunity? What is weakness? What is threat? You get confused between these two terminologies. Then to avoid that, just simply create a table, one positive, one negative. Put all your positive in one column. Put all your negatives in one column. Then it will be easy for, see, because one is the coordinator who is well aware of the SWOT analysis. The others are all team members. Team members not necessarily need to be perfect in these things. So ask them to put it this way, in a simple, so they will put it easily. Then as a coordinator, yes, you segregate them and put it into appropriate boxes. Strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. So then this is the crux of a SWOT analysis, a SWOT matrix. of course this is needed for detailed strategic planning. Maybe as individual you may not be needing a detailed strategic planning, but for an organization it is needed. So what I am doing is I am recording my major strength, major weakness, major opportunities and major threats here. Now here you can see this is a opportunity to strength strategies. How do I link them? Use this strength to take advantage of opportunities, right? Otherwise you will miss the opportunity. Now there is weakness, right? And can I connect my weakness with the opportunity? What should I do to overcome my weakness and grab the opportunity? So this is opportunity weakness strategies. So overcome weaknesses by taking advantage of opportunities. What correction or corrective action should I take for that? Now I have threat and I have also strength. So I must see whether using my strength can I overcome my threat. So this is called threat strength strategies. Use strength to avoid or overcome threats. Then comes weakness threat, right? So what should I do? Minimize my weakness and thereby avoid my threats or overcome threats. So this is called the SWOT matrix. Okay. So now I have taken the SWOT analysis, a sample, so that of course you can do it for institution or an organization. So because you are all still in a college or institution, so we'll take this as a case study and see how to do this, right? So the environment, we need to study the environment. Of course, this is what I told earlier, internal environment. The factors or parameters that is within the organization. So people, maybe people here we talk about the faculty, the supporting staff, the office staff, so all those people. Systems since whether the operations are systematic and what sort of infrastructure we have, what are the capabilities of the institution in terms of faculty strength and other things. And when I say culture, what is the working culture? Because that culture plays a major role in the success and failure of an institution or an organization. Even in an individual, this again, what to say, a regular day-to-day conversation. He is an uncultured fellow, right? He is a rogue, he is uncultured. So this is very commonly we are using it. So that culture is your internal thing. Where do you stand? So this culture leads to your attitude. And again for students, culture and attitude are very important when you go sit for an interview. And next is external environment, which is outside of the organization, which we don't have much control on that. Political scenario. So depending upon who the leader is and what's the vision of the leader, what is the vision of the party, ruling party, what are the legal issues, right? Socio-economic factors, technological changes that's happening. So these are all the environment, internal, external, which we need to consider. So now internal environment, I told strength, which means the positive aspects which are within the control of the institutions, right? Say for example, if they want to recruit a good faculty, the institution can do. No one is going to interfere in that. If an institution wants to, admit very good students, right? It's very much within the control of the institution, right? If the institution wants to create a wonderful infrastructure, they can very much create. No one is going to interfere and say, why are you creating such a wonderful infrastructure? You don't need that. No one is going to question you, right? So within the control of the institution. And weaknesses are constraining factors which is not allowing us to grow. Means, either your weakness has increased or threat has increased, right? So these are all internal environment. So strength and weakness, what are the contributing factors? So this is what I said, people. When I say people, faculty, the professors, the staff and students also, because what kind of students the institution is admitting. And the programs, does the institution has only UG programs? Because there are institutions, they don't focus on PG or PhD. They say I want to produce undergraduates, I want to produce only engineers, right? Whether you offer only UG or UG and PG, or you have UG, PG and PhD or doctoral programs. Next is properties, probably 4 P's here: people, programs, properties and processes. So what sort of infrastructure in terms of buildings? And there are some institutions where from the outside you see fantastic buildings, you go inside, their laboratories are ill-equipped, right? So what sort of lab facilities you have? And the process, teaching, learning, evaluation and research process. Is the teaching, learning happening properly? Do they assess the students properly? Do they have good assessment systems? So that is where, as Professor Bhaskaran was telling us, the outcome-based education, where we define course outcomes and we define the RBT levels. At what level questions are being asked? Are the questions asked at a standard level? So these are all becomes evaluation process. So these are all the contributing factors to strength and weakness of an institution, right? So what could be, what all could be the strengths of an educational institution? Highly competent faculty, majority of them with PhD, modern laboratories with the latest equipments. And coming to the programs, yes, the institution is offering unique programs and there are value-added programs offered, and the institution has good reputation. And this is what I was mentioning, there's a good examination and evaluation process. See, again I tell you, I'm telling this not because I am working in SVCE. When online exams came because of the COVID, probably ours was leading. We meticulously did the examination process, whereas hundreds of institutions, they simply conducted a MCQ sort of thing and then they published the results, right? So how good is your examination and evaluation process? Is the institution focusing on research and consultancy? Does it interact with industries? So these are all possible strengths an institution can have. And what all could be the weaknesses? So there are so many colleges, they don't want to pay more, because when you want a qualified staff, you have to pay more. So they recruit less competent and less qualified staff members. They create either minimum meeting the Anna University or AICTE's requirements, or sometimes even below that. Inadequate facilities, outdated syllabus and courses. Of course, it's applicable for autonomous and deemed universities. Lack of industry orientation. Is your curriculum and syllabus meets industry requirements, right? So weak employability of students, right? I have everything, I teach, do all those things, but my students are not employable, right? A lack of research activities. Students come, they study, go. Teachers come, they teach, conduct test, evaluate, and then they go. There is a lack of research activities both at the faculty level and at the student level. That's the reason why, earlier I told you, whether you offer only UG, PG and doctoral. If you are offering only UG, then chances of research activities are very low. And if there is PhD and doctoral programs, yes, the research activities will be more. So lack of research activities could be one of the important weaknesses of an educational institution, especially in engineering college. Internal funding difficulties for projects. Projects could be student project or faculty, they are interested in doing some projects. There are external agencies, but in many cases internally the management has to support the projects. That's called internal funding. If the management is not giving sufficient funding, students or the faculty will not be able to do much of projects, right? So this could be weaknesses that an educational institution can have. Then we'll go to the external environment, opportunities, attractive factors that help an institution to develop and improve, right? Of course, later we'll see what sort of opportunities we are likely to get, and threats, it's your competitors. And opportunities and threats which are external, and what are the contributing factors which creates that. So as listed earlier, technological. So a lot of technological advancements are happening in the industry, in the world, but the institution has not matched that, right? Means its curriculum and syllabus are not updated to meet that, right? So then there's a technological challenge. And economic conditions, what prevails? Legal and regulatory authorities, right? So when say when you run a show with minimal infrastructure and things like that, when there is a stringent norms, regulatory norms, say for example UGC, AICTE and NIST, they introduce a stringent norms, then that will be a threat for you. You won't be able to survive. Social conditions, right? So especially now because of COVID, for the past 1.5 years, lakhs and lakhs of people lost their jobs, businesses are down, right? So the social status of people have gone down, right? That's again a threat. So demographic is region specific, and whether there is any political change, whether a vibrant government rules, right? So all those things are contributing factors to opportunities and threats. So now coming to educational institution, what all could be an opportunity available outside? Growing demand for various courses, right? So now a lot of people talk about artificial intelligence, industry 4.0, data science, data analytics. So these are the lot of requirements in the industry, growing demand for these courses, growing demand for technically qualified people. Say another thing, maybe without taking much time, why this comes, demand for technically qualified people. Of course, all of you know, or you should be aware by now, that industries are going in for more and more of automation, right? So there was a myth that when industries go for automation, there will be a drop in job requirements. No, job requirements will be same, but the level of the job will change. See, earlier you go and stand in front of a machine as a normal engineer or a supervisor in the shop floor, but now you have advanced technology. You have CNC machines and industry 4.0. So you as a normal engineer, you are converting or raising your level to highly technically qualified people. So job is there, the job nature changes, but are you adapting to that, right? So that's what I mean here. And the new technological developments are happening outside. And again, on taking the example of Nokia, right? Knowing that technological developments are taking place, am I making use of that? Am I changing myself to make use of that? Research opportunities in specialized and niche areas. This is an opportunity for an educational institution. Say for example, nanotechnology is an area where a lot of research is taking place. And here at Venkateshwara, we with both internal funding and external funding to the tune of 1 crore, we have set up a nanotechnology research center, right? And the collaborations with industry, do we collaborate with industries for getting their expertise and sharing our expertise to them by way of consultancy? So collaborations with institutes of higher learning, national and international level. So there is something called faculty exchange program. Our faculty go there, our students can go there, and vice versa. So these are all the various opportunities that might be lying outside, which I need to know and grab it or make use of it. Now coming to threats, what are the threats that an educational institution can face? Competition from new entrants at local, national and international level. Say now, initially, of course, Anna University, all those government colleges, the private colleges came in, and of course, they were all were affiliated to Anna University. On the next level, people started becoming autonomous. When they became autonomous, they got the freedom to change their curriculum and syllabus, frequently meeting the industry needs, and that becomes a threat to other institutions which are still affiliated. And then comes the next level, deemed to be universities came. They have much more power than an autonomous institution. They are totally flexible. Any course they can bring in, right? Any program they can bring in. They can do research. So that becomes a threat to autonomous institutions. And now Tamil Nadu government is introducing a concept of private universities like SSN Shivanadar University. That's the first private university in Tamil Nadu. And there is one more, Sai Group. So those are the first private universities. So when they come, they have full freedom. They will establish themselves. Then that becomes a threat to other institutions, right? That's a local level. At national level, elsewhere also, even Shivanadar, they have a campus in Noida. So these are all threats for Venkateshwara at stake. So are we aware of this, and are we taking steps to overcome that? Remember when I told you what is the use of SWOT analysis, you have to do an action plan to overcome these things. So decreasing scope for some programs. So I'll come to this later. Change in technology, declining availability of qualified faculty. So when the job opportunities are more, people may not come to as a teaching position. So there is declining in availability of qualified faculty, decline in the overall quality of student intake. So that is a threat for an institution. In spite of having good faculty, good laboratory facilities, if they don't get quality students, then still it will be very difficult for the institution to produce results and produce employability, right? Tight regulatory measures. So let's assume the university or AICTE or UGC says, right, now the pass mark is 50, let's say they make it to 60, and there is a student faculty ratio, right? Now it's 1:15, they say 1:10. These are all tight regulatory measures, and they say you must have so many equipments, so many buildings. These are all regulatory measures which will be a threat if you're not prepared. Right, now we need to do a strategic planning. We listed out various strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. Now I want to combine all those things and see how to do a planning. So what I have done here is, I have listed out, of course there could be many, but I have, just for example, I have listed out 3 here, 3 each, right? Now we will frame the matrix. Now we see here, there is a demand for new course. That's an opportunity for me. Now what is my strength? I have competent faculty, highly qualified faculty. I have got modern laboratories, very good lab facilities. Now combining these two, right? So combining strength 1 and strength 3, I can create new courses, and also there is demand for technically qualified people. So using my strength S1 and S3, I am making use of the opportunities O1 and O2. So this is what is called mapping or creating SWOT matrix. And next is research opportunities in specialized areas. Right, that's an opportunity. Now what I'm looking at my strength. So I have competent faculty, I have research, I've been doing research projects. Faculty have experience in doing that. And I do have modern laboratories. Now with all these combining S1 and S2, S3, definitely I can do research opportunities in specialized areas. Of course, that's what Venkateshwara has done. Nanotechnology is a research area, and with the funding we have developed a nanotechnology research center. And also there is a welding research center in the marine department where we have robotic welding. Right? There are so many facilities we have, and that we use it. Now there is a lot of opportunity for collaboration with industry. Say for example, take Venkateshwara. Of course, we are already established. So we are in the industrial belt, starting from Sriperumbudur to Sungachatram, it's completely industries. There is huge opportunity for Venkateshwara, or for any institution for that matter, to collaborate with the industries. And yes, I do have strength here, right? Faculty, laboratories, all those things are there, testing facilities are there. So what I should do? Start industry institute interaction cell, start interacting with the industries and make use of my strength, and then do research and consultancy. So this is about OS mapping, opportunities and strength. Now I'll come here. I have a weakness, there are opportunities, but still can I make use of it? So there is demand for new courses, right? There is research opportunities, and also there is a chance to collaborate with industries. But what are my weakness here? I lack qualified faculty, and right. So what should I do? Train my internal faculty. Right? We have already recruited. We cannot send them out. So instead, train them. Once you train them and make them a competent faculty, then this weakness can be utilized for these two opportunities, O3 and O4, research and then collaboration with industries. Now we'll come down here. Now we take threats. How do I map my threat with my strength? So there is decreasing scope for some program. of course I know not only in Venkateshwara, in most of the institutions there is a reduced demand for say programs like civil engineering. So because people think it's a conventional civil engineering, not much of scope for that. So that is a threat. It goes down means people don't opt for that. Then what do I do? How do I do my admissions? So now, especially Venkateshwara being autonomous institution, and I have this strength, competent faculty, and I have very good lab facilities. What I can do is, in addition to the conventional courses, I can introduce value-added courses, right? So using S1 and S3, I am overcoming or facing this threat. Next is, what is that I have? Declining quality of student intake, right? What can I do for that? I have a competent faculty, I have good laboratory facilities. So what I have to do is introduce stringent admission norms. I filter out and take only meritorious students so that these two strengths can be used to overcome this threat. So S1 and S3 are my strength. Using those strengths, I am overcoming my threat T3. Now I will come back here, threat versus weakness. So here, decreasing scope for some programs. What can I do? And here I have a weakness. I have outdated courses. That is my weakness. The syllabus or curriculum is not updated. So two things I can do. One, of course, I can reduce my intake. If I feel still the curriculum what I have is okay, I can reduce the intake for that particular program, or simply I can close the programs. Because knowing that it's outdated course, there is a decreasing scope for the program. I have a department, I have faculty, I have to pay them, laboratory, equipment, maintenance. I'll be spending huge money on that. So I'll simply close the program, right? Maybe another example I can give you, talk about Tata Nano, right? Ratan Tata had a vision in creating a most affordable car for the middle class. So today upper middle class, they are able to buy a car, at least a small car, like starting from Maruti, let's say Alto or things like that. So he introduced that, but somewhere something went wrong, and there was almost nil demand for that car. But because Ratan Tata brought it as a dream project, for a quite long time he didn't want to give it up, but he was incurring a lot of loss on that. And finally one day, he decided, okay, it's not worth continuing that, not worth spending money on that. So he dropped manufacturing Tata Nano. So this is what I said. The weakness is there, the threat is there, and I close the program here in educational institution. If it is a company, I quit the product. That particular product doesn't mean Tata wind up complete passenger car manufacturing. That model was failure, so he dropped it. So then I have this declining availability of qualified faculty. This is my threat, right? So what do I do? And also I have a lack of qualified faculty here. So how do you overcome this? So obviously, be it teaching or industry, the best way to attract the best minds or best minds, in the sense someone who is very competent, is to offer them attractive pay package. So this happens in industries and institutions also. Maybe industries is very common. Now they'll keep watching who is the guy in my competitor's company who is doing well, and this company will contact him and say that how much you are getting now. He says 3 lakhs. I'll give you 4 lakhs. Why don't you join a company? Right? So when you give an attractive pay package, automatically the best talents you'll be able to attract towards. The same thing applies here. I have a weakness here. Of course, lack of qualified faculty. If they are already paid well, then probably here I am giving training for them to increase their competency. And to overcome this, the availability of that, shortage of that, I am giving attractive package, right? So by that way my threat is overcome. So this is what is called strategic planning, analyzing my strength, weakness, opportunities and threat, how to map them, how to link them, and finally emerge as a successful player in the field, right? Be it educational institution or an organization. The same way, now having understood, of course I assume that by now you would have understood what SWOT analysis is. Having done this, go back, sit, right? Put the same table. What is your strength? What is your weakness? What is your goal? Right? Where you lack? What you should do so that you achieve your goal. I bet, right? If you do this tomorrow, you can see that your mind is very clear. You see a future there because you have analyzed yourself. You know what you should do to improve yourself. Once you do that, your confidence level goes high. Once your confidence is high, you can do wonders. So that is the basics of life, right? Right. So this is about this strategic planning. Now, of course, we have done all those things, but there are few steps. Probably this. I'm not sure. I'm not looking at the watch. Hope I have a few more minutes. So I have to do it, but am I doing it properly? Right? Am I doing a SWOT analysis productively or in the correct way? So there are certain things which we need to look into whether you're doing it properly or not. Stay focused. What does that mean? Don't complete one generic analysis for the entire institution or organization. Say for example, there is one department. I do a SWOT analysis for that department, and of course, again, I'm not undermining any of the departments, but as a matter of fact, let's assume a particular department is not doing well, and you do analysis on that department and say entire SVC is like that. Either way, or you do SWOT analysis for a particular department, that's fantastic department, and apply the same yardstick. Apply the yardstick for all the department. You cannot arrive at a conclusion by doing SWOT analysis in one particular section or domain or division. So there should be a series of analysis, each focusing on specific aspect. So again, coming back here, when I say specific aspect, so if you take an individual, there are so many aspects, right? Whether you are good in technical or good in managerial, right? You are more focused on only academics, or you are more interested in extracurricular, co-curricular. There are so many aspects. So each of that you have to analyze to find out overall what sort of a person you are. You are more technically oriented or more managerially oriented, right? You are more suitable for working independently, or you are more suitable for working in a team. So to find out an overall picture of yourself, you need to analyze all the aspects. So similarly, when it comes to an institution, you must know academics, placement, projects. In all aspects you have to analyze. That's what we mean. It's stay focused. Look at all aspects. And this is very important. Search extensively for competitors. Right? It will be like your hare and tortoise story, right? Muyal Ame. So that story, you just sleep by the time your competitor has overtaken you. So don't overlook any competitor, whether it be a current rival or one on the horizon. What does that mean? That fellow only came yesterday into the field. What way is going to be a competitor for me? So that is what they say. Don't overlook just because he is new to the market. Who knows? Though he is new to the market or to the field, he might overtake others. So be aware of all the competitors. Collaborate with other functional areas. Should be an amalgamation of information from many areas. Of course, here what I mentioned is each HOD will have a different perspective of strength, weakness, the SWOT, right? One aspect, one department will look at it as a strength, whereas another department will look at the same aspect as a weakness. Of course, in educational institution this might not be pronounced, but in industry it might be pronounced, right? Of course, that's a different functionality, whereas in educational institution all are teaching learning only. So there is a production department, there is a design department. So design department not aware much of the production department, they may take weakness in a different aspect. So that's the reason why all functional areas, of course that's the reason why in the beginning I told you, when you form a team, the members should be at least one member from each of the functional areas: design, manufacturing, marketing, quality, everywhere. So that should be a collaborative effort. And examine issues from the customer's perspective. Don't look at the manufacturer's perspective. I'm manufacturing a product. I look at my manufacturing setup, my design and all those things. At the end of the day, the customer is going to use your product. Did you think from the customer's perspective, right? So that's what means here. So marketing planners must gauge the perceptions of each customer segment, right, that the institution is attempting to target, institution or organization. Customer segment means, say, if you take automotive, there is a small car segment, what they call hatchbacks, then you have sedans, then you have SUVs. There are different customer segments, and from each of the customer segments you have to get the views. What's their perspective? So when we talk about customers, even the employees of an organization, they are also called internal customers. Someone who buys your product or takes your services, you are called external customers, and the employee is called internal customers, and you also need to take their views. You cannot ignore them. That's what it means. This is very important thing. Separate internal issues from external issues. So as I told you, in SVC, when we try to do a SWOT analysis, when we consolidated, we found that they didn't understand what an internal weakness is, what a threat is. They mixed up between weakness and threat. So we need to be clear about that. So how to differentiate? So differentiate strength or weakness from opportunity or threat. You cannot think your strength as an opportunity. Strength is one part, opportunity is another aspect. So that differentiation you must be very clear. So how do I do that? Would this issue exist if the firm did not exist? Right? If my company is not there, still that opportunity will be there, means that is outside of mine. Right? If there is a weakness, say if I don't exist, still whether the weakness will be there. If we say yes, then that is outside. So that is how use that question and decide whether that's purely internal issue or an external issue. This is very, very important in SWOT analysis, because if you fail to differentiate this, then your SWOT analysis will go wrong. So these are the things which we need to look into to do a productive or effective SWOT analysis. Right? So see, we are only analyzing strength, weakness and other things. There might be some other way or method of doing this analysis. But what are the advantages, specific advantage if I do a SWOT analysis or this method I am talking about? Right? So it is simple, because this is very important, because now we went through the case study of an educational institution. We didn't see any complexity there. Straight away I write my strength statements, right? So it is simple. It requires no extensive training or technical skills to be used successfully. Anyone can do that. All that is just apply your common sense, right? So it is simple. SWOT analysis is simple. It's flexible. What way it is flexible? It can enhance the quality of an organization's strategic planning, even in the absence of extensive marketing information system. Of course, what they mean is the marketing people, the outside of the information, even in that absence, still by doing an internal analysis, analyzing my strength and weakness, from that itself I will be able to overcome certain things. That's what it says. Even in the absence of that, still I will be able to perform SWOT analysis. It means it's flexible. It allows the marketing manager, of course even in college there are marketing managers, to integrate and synthesize diverse information, both of quantitative and qualitative nature. Of course in this example I gave only statements. With statements itself we can do it, but if these statements, qualitative statements, are supported with quantitative numbers, say for example, two mobile manufacturing companies. I am manufacturing 1,000 mobiles a day. How many is the competitor making? Is making 2,000 or 3,000 or 1,200? So the difference between 1,000 and 1,200 is small. Difference between 1,000 and 3,000 is much. So if these qualitative statements are supported by quantitative numbers, then yes, it will be easy for you to come out with an accurate output. So that's what means integrate and synthesize diverse information, because as I told you earlier, all aspects you have to cover. So all that, both quantitatively and qualitatively, you will be able to do it. Integrate them and synthesize a SWOT document. So it can foster collaboration between managers of different functional areas. See, probably SWOT analysis is one where all are collectively or collaboratively working together to do the SWOT analysis, thereby completely analyzing the various aspects, SWOT, or OT becomes outside, completely analyzing the strength and weakness of the organization. So these are all the benefits of using SWOT analysis. There may be other tools, but this basically it's a simple tool. That's the reason why this analysis industry also can do, institution also can do, and individual also can do, right? So these are the few benefits of SWOT analysis. Of course, then one more thing is like one of my relative son studied here. Of course, he was little lethargic. One day I called him and said, take a paper, right? List out what are your strengths, what are your weakness, what sort of job you want to take up. You want to go into core industry or software or something else, right? For suppose you want to for core industries, what are your weakness? What should you improve? Then if you're going for software, are you interested? If you are interested, what are the things you have to learn? So I asked him to do that. So of course I gave him 2 days time. I sincerely drew a table, all those things. Then came and told, I want to go for this job. He was more defense oriented, and for that he said, I need to study these things. I have to take up this exam. I have to pass this. So why I am telling you this is, if you do this, you will get a clarity in what is your goal and how to achieve your goal, right? So that's all from my end. A quick review of what we discussed. What is SWOT? Why is SWOT? How to do SWOT? How to do a proper SWOT analysis, and what are the benefits of using SWOT? Two things: benefit in the sense for the individual or the organization, and advantages of using SWOT as an analyzing tool. So these are the few things we touched upon. And one more point, again and again I want to re-emphasize is, don't think that it's only for bigger organizations. Even an individual can do a SWOT analysis to be successful in his life.